What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I finally went and saw Godzilla vs. Kong yesterday, and 5 minutes after the film was finished, I was still in my seat waiting for some sort of post-credit scene. And I didn't get any. So I was disappointed by that. Obviously, we know who it is to blame for. Freaking Marvel has made us grow bad habits of sitting in the theater after the film is finished. For what? For Samuel L. Jackson to show up and tease the next Avengers movie or something like that? You were right, Wade Wilson. You were right.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.
So, as much as I hated the awkwardness of people walking right past my seat as I was still waiting for some Godzilla vs. Kong post-credit scene, I'm gonna tell you what I didn't hate. The movie itself. The movie had some freaking fantastic elements in it. So guys, hold on to your butts, as today we're gonna dive into 4 amazing elements from Godzilla vs. Kong that I really liked, and 4 elements of the story that didn't necessarily work for me. Again, these are all my personal opinions, so what you can do is comment down your personal opinion about the movie in the comment section down below. And if you like our content, then you can always drop a like, share, subscribe, as it helps us out a lot. So here we go. Okay, so let's just admit it right off the bat. Godzilla vs. Kong is a kind of the movie that you go to the theaters to have a visual spectacle, right? And obviously, almost all the Monsterverse movies have great visual effects. Even 2014's Godzilla movie, which had so much little of Godzilla in it, still looked amazing whenever Godzilla stepped in. And this movie just puts one step forward in achieving one of the greatest visual effects that can be achieved in today's world. So visual effects wise, Godzilla vs. Kong was a huge win for me. And yeah, I understand due to the pandemic and stuff, the movie has been made available on HBO Max at no extra cost. But to see this movie on the big screen with the monsters just punching each other and having nuclear beam battles, it's just jaw-dropping.
Where are they? Killing is making a choice. Where are they?
So one of the issues that I found with the movie is the loss of the character arcs. And I get it, the movie understands what it's about. It's about the monsters and the monsters fighting themselves, and therefore it doesn't stretch on the new characters introduced. But at the same time, we get characters from the previous films that are just there, with no progression in their story arc. Madison Russell and her father were 2 important characters from King of the Monsters, and yet we hardly get any character progression for any of them. And even this I can deal with. But what about Charles Dance? He had such a big role in Godzilla King of the Monsters. He even set up the whole Ghidorah skull thing, which is in this movie, and yet his character is nowhere to be seen. So, incomplete character arcs is pretty prominent in the movie. So this might just come up as a little hypocritical, as I had just criticized the incomplete character arcs in the films. But the fact that the monsters are the driving force in the film, I loved it. But let me explain myself. What happened in the earlier Monsterverse movies was that the plots were always human-focused. The humans were driving the plots, and the monsters were always seen from the human perspectives. But it seems the franchise is now finally changing its course. But in the process of changing its course, the human characters from the previous films have incomplete story arcs. But I think we can all sacrifice those human characters to have more monsters in the movie. And the movie just did that. So, when Kong is going to his home in the Hollow Earth and the humans are just following him, I loved it, because he was carrying the plot of the film. Similarly, Godzilla's attacks at the Apex Cybernetics drove the plot of the film for quite some time, and I loved it. So I will continue loving it if the monsters carry the franchise for the rest of the movies. So it might not be as big of an issue in the movie, and it could have been skipped over, but it is there. So the film takes place 5 years after the King of the Monsters, and at the end of the King of the Monsters, we are told that many titans were converging on the Skull Island. But at the start of this film, we see that a storm has taken over the Skull Island. Kong is being kept in a containment facility of Monarch on the Skull Island in an artificial environment, and there are no signs of the Titans whatsoever. So I was just a little curious about what might have happened during those 5 years. Where did all the Titans go? And how did the storm take over the Skull Island? So this is just me nitpicking on the movie here, and you guys can decide whether it is a flaw in the film or not. Now this is one of the things that has really worked in favor of the movie. And again, it ties into the fact that the franchise has now decided to use the monsters as the plot drivers. The story just embraces the ridiculousness of the universe it is set in. And it really helps, especially when you consider the 2014's Godzilla movie, where the title character was rarely shown. I mean, come on, if you want to release a Godzilla movie, you can give us plenty of that. No need to think about how much grounded the story seems. Godzilla vs. Kong really embraces the ridiculous technology and all the Mechagodzilla stuff to let the monsters carry the movie themselves. And this is what we really needed. So this is not an issue nor a nitpick in this movie. Or maybe you guys should decide. For me, it's more like a childish demand than a flaw in the film. Of all the Godzilla films in the Monsterverse that we have seen, Godzilla still remains to be one of the highly mysterious characters in the movie. And some of it is understandable, as he is supposed to be a myth among the people. But I feel like we haven't yet received the emotional level of rooting for this mythical being or understanding his mindset. Obviously, we being the Godzilla fans support him for being the legendary monster that he is. But even the Japanese version of Godzilla had brought up several storylines to make him more human, so that the audiences can actually emotionally root for him. Even Emmerich's version of Godzilla, as bad as it was, tried to bring some emotional aspects to the monster with the babies and stuff. But this version of Godzilla has no emotional rooting, except for maybe one scene when Mothra and Godzilla teamed up and Mothra sacrificed herself to save Godzilla. So it would be nice to finally humanize Godzilla a little bit in the future should the franchise continue. So, while Godzilla doesn't receive the human aspect of the story, the film takes quite the opposite route for Kong. His bond with the little girl Gia really feels like the heart and soul of the movie. And with every scene between the girl and Kong, we saw more and more of a human and less of a monster. And especially near the end of the climax, when an injured Kong is going for one more fight and Gia tells him to be careful, oh man, it really brought the 2005's King Kong vibes to me, when Kong is about to fall from the Empire State Building. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. So that is it, guys. I have finished on a high note with the fourth positive element of the film that I have really liked. So if you guys are wondering about the final issue I had with the movie, then I have already talked about it in the beginning. It is the fact that the movie did not have a post-credit scene to tease the next Monsterverse movies in the upcoming future. And it's kind of a bittersweet thing that the franchise has finally taken steps to correct some of its mistakes, and now it is hanging on the audience's shoulders as to whether we shall see more of these movies, and honestly speaking, I think we really should. So that is it, guys. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.